A disappointing result for sure. Barcelona falling 2-1 to Granada. The first time that the Andalusians have ever beaten Barcelona at the Camp Nou in 25 tries. I know you don't want to be watching this. I'm going to try to be positive about a few things in the first half. Don't click off just yet, because in the second half, I'm going to go over some of the frustrations and what this means for the big picture moving forward. So let's get into it. This is the match review. We know the three big changes for Ronald Koeman at the start. Umtiti for Lenglet, Illich Moriba for Pedri, and Sergio Roberto in for Dest. Two of those three in the first half, actually throughout most of the match, didn't look like bad decisions at all. I'll let you figure out by the end of this who was the bad decision. Busquets, his time on the ball to start this match for Granada. And as we do talk about this match, it was a tale of two halves. And really in the second half, Barcelona had their chances. We'll get there. But in the first half, I'm positive because it was all Barcelona. And I was positive for the first 45 minutes. Granada, just like the recent teams that have fallen to the sword against the Blaugrana, Busquets is given way too much time on the ball. And Messi's positioning, just like in that Copa del Rey and in the 4-0 in the first half of the season, Messi's dropping way deep against Granada and looking to find Griezmann in to run behind. And this spacing between De Jong and Illich and Messi and Griezmann and Busquets, that front five, if you will, not talking about the two out wide, was really, really important and why Barcelona were on the front foot. The first attempt of the game was a De Jong cutback that was blocked. Illich was open, but he goes for Messi. That could have been the first turning point in the game. 19th minute, there was another opportunity, a Griezmann shot. The Busquets ball to Messi, who eventually finds Griezmann, was really the creme de la creme on this one. No dice for Barcelona. 24th minute, and in that first half, because Barcelona were all over Granada, they didn't really have an answer for Barcelona's pressure, and that pressure is what leads to the first goal in the 24th minute. Barca lose the ball high, immediately get it back through Illich Moriba and Jordi Alba, pressing, fighting, working hard. Griezmann receives the ball, turns from the two center backs, a good skill move from him, and Illich getting out of the way, I guess you want to call that a dummy as he jumps over the ball, and Messi shooting from an acute angle, or as we like to say, just a Messi angle to score a goal, his 26th Liga goal for Messi, and at that point it felt like Barcelona, not only were they on the front foot, but it was inevitable they would get a few more goals. And one of the reasons for that was their spacing. As I said, tactics, I thought for the first 45 minutes, Ronald Koeman got this absolutely right. De Jong and Illich Moriba occupying two of the three center backs, which created overloads for Griezmann, Messi, and usually Sergio Roberto out on the right. Because 7 times in that first half, Barca came down the right flank, 3 through the middle, and 0 times on the left. Granada, meanwhile, didn't have much of anything going on. They had 3 attacks down the right, 0 on the left, and 0 through the middle. And some of those attacks on the right, it's understandable why Granada was forcing that. Whether it was going to be Dest or Roberto, whoever Koeman went with, I think the Granada game plan was the same. Either make Dest, the 20-year-old, beat you, or Roberto, you know he's not going to beat you for pace out wide. And I guess we'll talk about Roberto now. In the second half, there was an opportunity he had on a half volley because he was cutting in a little bit more. His position didn't change throughout this game. In the first half, he was playing as a wingback, who was really not comfortable. And I don't really have an answer to that too because Dest does need to be rotated every now and again. In the second half, he was cutting in and tucking in a bit more out from the wing, especially when Barcelona converted to a 4-3-3. But it wasn't his day, and for the second time in a row, Sergio Roberto just was not at his best in this match. And I think Barcelona suffered because Granada was able to exploit even the spacing behind him on that first goal that we'll get to in a second. 36th minute though, back to the first half. I have to sing the praise of Busquets. Even though Barcelona lost this match, Sergio Busquets was phenomenal again in this match. He's been, if not for Messi, the player of the month for me, not just for Barcelona, but I think all of the Liga. 36th minute, he gets over the top to Messi, in behind Hernan Sanchez. Escandal gets just enough on the save. In that first half, Busquets completed 6 of 6 long balls, won 6 of 6 ground duels, and completed 64 of his 68 passes in the first half. As perfect as you could possibly get from the Catalan was Busquets. But unfortunately, this wasn't just 45 minutes. This match was 90 minutes. And the change that Diego Martinez made for the second half, he got it right. Koeman got it wrong, and he continued to get it wrong, did Koeman here. Granada ramped up the pressure a bit in that second half, putting those center backs, the back three of Mingueza, Piqué, and Umtiti, under a lot more pressure. Piqué did have a really good interception. That could have been the first goal. His anticipation, I thought, for the first 45 minutes to 55 minutes of this match was good. And the other change that Granada made in that second half was they were now playing in a low block, as you can tell, even before the first or second goal. When it was still 1-0, Granada were dropping about 10 to 15 yards closer towards their own goal, putting 8 red shirts in the box, just kind of actually saying exactly what they did. If we can get 1 or 2 by Barcelona, we can get a result today. And the 1-0 came shortly thereafter, actually. Darwin Machís scores it. It was a long diagonal ball from Luis Suarez, a Colombian, who was playing underneath Roberto Soldado and had a really good day for himself, that being Luis Suarez. You could see that he's able to affect the game in a very Antoine Griezmann-esque way, though he is a bit more of a box threat than Griezmann, but he also doesn't have as many of those diagonal great balls that he did. But hey, he had his day, the long diagonal ball. The flex off Mingueza, really unlucky here. Unlucky, I think, is one of the words you could use. There's losing when you're not the better team, like happened in El Clasico. And then there's losing when things just aren't really going your way. And this deflection right off of Mingueza, who was, I think, in the path of Machís. What has nothing to do with luck is the fact that Roberto, because he was pushed forward, let Matisse in behind, and Matisse just exploited that space on the counterattack. This goal starts on the other side of the pitch when Barcelona had a free kick opportunity. So Piqué and Umtiti were also trying to race back after this counterattack was on for Granada. Ter Stegen also shares a bit of fault on this goal, a bit late in reading it, should have called him off his line, made that decision earlier, so he gets beat. And Ter Stegen, we know he can stop these. It's unfortunate that he didn't. So it's 1-1 at that point. Then soon after, a red card for Koeman. Whether it was deserved or not, he winds up having to coach the rest of this game on a phone from the stands. That certainly probably didn't help. 72nd minute, I think that these were pre-planned substitutions though, whether or not Koeman got that red card. Dembélé and Pedri coming on, switching the formation up for Barca to a 4-3-3 because Mingueza and ES Mariba coming off. Pedri, as we've seen many times before, basically playing as a defensive midfielder as De Jong continued to push forward to be a body in the box, and Busquets would come off not long after that. Dembélé also adding width to the right wing, and then when Trincao came on with 10 minutes remaining for Busquets, Dembélé moved over to the left. We've seen that many times before. Machís also comes off for Granada. It hasn't been his best year. That was just his third goal in the Liga this season. He has dealt with some illness, some injuries, so he hasn't been at his best, but he's looking good, and it reminds you that he's one of the biggest signings in Granada history. Now, at that point, too, we're still in about the 73rd, 74th minute, and Piqué getting forward quite a bit after the equalizer. Barcelona were already going for it. You felt like there was a bit of desperation, and Barca knew they needed a second goal. And unfortunately, that space that Piqué leaves in behind, pushing forward so early, I think that might be the one tactical decision that the coaching staff got wrong, and I'm hoping that it just wasn't the captain Piqué making the decision for himself. Because when Piqué, by pushing forward so early on, meaning 17 or 18 minutes left in the match, there was so much space in behind, and even when 39-year-old Jorge Molina comes in, there's just too much space, and mistakes were made on that counter-attacking defense, unfortunately, and a lot of blame goes on Piqué here, because even if his positioning wasn't necessarily the problem, because that was part of the problem, his communication, he's in transition, somebody has to have picked up Jorge Molina. He's way too wide open here, gets the cross right to his head from Marin at the near post. Luis Suarez, credit to him as well, for keeping the ball, riding a few tackles out to Marin, and again, the cross, this one, there's nothing Ter Stegen can do. Molina, the second oldest player to score at the Camp Nou in all of Camp Nou history, 39 years and 7 days. Only Alfredo Di Stefano was older at almost 40 years old. As I said, 10 minutes remaining. Barcelona going for it. Trincao on for Busquets. These are actually the moments where we saw in the Copa del Rey, Riqui Puig actually came on in that second half to try to help get that comeback. And I actually think this is the moment for Riqui Puig. I know we joke about it on the podcast, but I'll probably fight for it on the next podcast that this was actually the moment that you put Puig in the match. You need somebody to unbalance and break through that low block. And that's really what Puig does best. And so I actually thought he deserved and needed to come on in this moment, and I was fortunate that I didn't see him. Nevertheless, Granada wind up winning for the first time, as I said at the start, at the Camp Nou in 25 tries, with just 25 possession. They're the 8th place team in the Liga. Diego Martinez has done a fantastic job with the Andalusians, but the bigger picture is for Barcelona. This is a loss you could not take. It was unlucky, and I thought Barcelona were the better team. Certainly they were the better team today. But that means they now don't have to take care of business against Atletico Madrid. And Frankie de Jong said it in the postgame. They have to win all 5 of the remaining fixtures, including Atletico Madrid. And you have to hope Real Madrid drops some more points, which I still do think in 5 matches that Real Madrid might drop some points. But, I mean, what a gutting thing that would be for Barcelona to beat Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid to wind up sneaking their way through the back door to the Liga trophy. It'd be gut-wrenching. I don't want to see it. So I'm hoping that Barcelona can take care of business against Valencia on the weekend. And hey, if the Madrid sides drop more points, maybe Sevilla drops some points, then Barcelona are still in a position to control their own destiny. But, 5 matches left for all these teams. Liga, we know what it is. There is still league on, and Barcelona have to continue to fight on for the final 5 remaining matches of the year. So, again, a disappointing result. I know everybody's frustrated. Try not to be too rough on me in the comments below, but thanks so much for everybody. And as always, Forza Barca.